Getting a job in sports analysis can be very difficult. In order to get a job, you usually need to get an interview, and to get an interview, you usually need to submit some form of CV. Whilst running my business, I've seen a lot of CVs and hired people for various different positions, including sales, software development, but most frequently sports analysis positions. We get sent CVs all the time. Even if we're not advertising for a job, CVs get sent in. The sports analysis industry is very saturated, so standing out from the crowd is even more important now than ever. With that in mind, this video is made up of 10 points that you can implement when creating your CV. They consist of a mixture of layout, content, and design ideas that you can use to help your CV stand out from the other CVs going for the same job that you want. Okay, let's do it. Point number 1, the length of your CV. Longer does not mean better.
That's what she said.
I've seen people debate whether a CV should just be one single page. Personally, for me, 1 or 2 pages is fine, but I would not go any more than 2 pages. If you think 2 pages isn't enough, then you're probably waffling on and including some information that's probably not required. If you are clever with your design, 1 page is often enough, which leads me to my next point. For number 2, I'm going to say be selective about what you are including. If you are limiting your CV to 1 or 2 pages, then you don't want to waste precious space on your CV with pointless information. Put the most information about the most relevant positions. For example, there's nothing wrong with having a part-time job at Asda while you're at university, for example, but I don't really need to know exactly how you stack the shelves or how you mop the floors. I don't need a paragraph on that, it's not relevant. Go into more detail on the related experience that you've actually had. Also, on this point, you don't need to include every single job that you've ever had. If you've had bits of experience or jobs related to the industry, include them over the part-time bar work that you had whilst you were at university. Number 3, personalize your CV. This also includes the cover letter if the application has asked you for one of those too. You should be tailoring your application to the actual job. Look over the job spec and link it back to them. Show them why you're a good fit for that particular job. Also, it goes without saying, don't send the same cover letter to every single job that you apply for. You know, we've got experience of this. For example, like we get applications for analyst positions, and on the cover letter it says things like, I would love to work at your football club, or I really would love the opportunity to work at West Ham United. Obviously, those applications have just been copy and pasted, bulk sent out. You know, those guys have not done the checks and they're not made it tailored to the position they're applying for, which is a rookie mistake. Point number 4 covers the design and style of your CV. You want your CV to stand out from the others that are basically going for the same job as you, and in some cases that can be hundreds. So believe it or not, you will not stand out from the rest if you just use a simple bog standard template that you grabbed from Google. You know the ones I mean, something like this. Yeah, it's okay, it's not that bad, but will it really grab the attention of the recruiter that's looking through a massive pile of these CVs? Probably not. If you are going for a job as an analyst, sometimes part of that role is to present your findings to the coaches or the players, for example. You might do this in the form of presentations, reports, and to do that, you will need some degree of design skills. So, for me, designing your CV should be, you should be able to show what skills you've got. And if you can create something that looks nice and gets the important messages across, then that's obviously a win for you. So, take time, design a great looking CV, and you will stand out from the rest. With the layout in mind, don't use big paragraphs. Use short sentences and bullet points. They're much easier on the eye. The next thing may be controversial, but I will give my opinion, and that is to include club crests or club logos on your CV. So personally, I like this. I used to do this when I had a CV. And the reason I like this is people recognize logos and they recognize crests. So if you've got, if you've worked at a particular club, for example, or you've gone to a specific university, if you include the logo on there, and I mean quite small, not really big, 1, it helps to break up the text. 2, it adds color to the CV as well. And also, whoever's looking at the CV will recognize a certain club's crest, for example. So if I'm flicking through CVs and I see a certain logo, it might be a club that I've worked at before. It might be a club that I've got connections at. Maybe you've got the logo of my old university, for example. So if I see something that I recognize, I'm more likely to take a closer look and then potentially, call for a reference and obviously progress with the application. And finally, on this point, you don't need to include a photograph on your CV. Number 5 is common sense, but you will be surprised. Spell check your CV. In my opinion, there's really no excuse to kind of send in an application with spelling mistakes on there. You've got things like Spellchecker on various different tools that you can use. So run it through a spell checker, make sure it is correct. You can ask a friend if you've got one or a family member to read through it check for any spelling or grammatical mistakes, check over them, fix them, and then send it in. Okay, so 5 down, 5 to go. So before I get to the next one, I do have a favor to ask. So it costs you nothing, but it means a lot to me. So if you are finding value from this video, please consider liking the video and also subscribing to the channel. It would be great to see you in the next video too. Okay, so number 6 is where people grade their skill level for certain skills on a graph or a number out of 5 or a number out of 10. Personally, this is pretty stupid. It doesn't really mean anything. Let's say that you say your Microsoft Excel skill level is 78%, but then somebody else sends a CV in with a similar thing and they've graded their self at 85%. Does that mean that they're better at Microsoft Excel than you? I don't know, it's pretty pointless to me. I'd rather be told how you can use or how you have used Excel to solve a particular real life problem rather than just making up, a score and putting that on your CV. Also on number 6, I will include the overuse of buzzwords. So maybe I'm being a little bit cynical, but every candidate that applies for a job seems to be enthusiastic, hardworking, team player, detail oriented. People just kind of regurgitate these terms and it gets a little bit boring in my opinion. So again, like I said before, I'd rather you, even if it was a bullet point or short sentences, actually explain how you were these things in a previous task rather than just making a list of, buzzwords that you think that I want to hear. Point number 7 is to include some example work on your CV. So this could be in the form of a link or a QR code that goes directly to either a YouTube channel, a Dropbox, Google Drive, for example, where your work can actually be situated. If COVID did anything, it saved the QR code. Any smartphone can scan one and within seconds, they can be looking over potentially a video that you've edited or a match report that you've done. Yes, not everyone will view the link, but if they do, it puts you ahead of the competition that haven't bothered to include any sort of work on their CV at all. It's a great way to show off your knowledge and give the recruiter an idea of the kind of work that you're capable of, and it also shows that you're passionate about working in the industry too, if you are willing to put the work in your own time. Okay, so number 8 is if you have good references, include them. So this may take up a little extra room on your CV, but if you have sort of industry professionals that are willing to speak highly of you, then why would you not want to include that on your CV? I will say that whoever you are wanting to include as a reference, speak to them first, just double check that they're happy with that. I'm sure they will be. So once they've, give you the okay, pop their name, their contact details on the CV, can just be an email or a contact number, and it just makes it then easier for the recruiter to get in contact with that person to basically request a reference. Within sports analysis, most people know each other. So if I didn't know an analyst at a particular club, I probably do know somebody that knows that analyst. Everybody knows everybody. Therefore, if I see somebody's name on a CV that I know, straight away I can pick up my phone, give that person a call and ask for a reference. Whether true or not, if you don't include any references or you have something like, references available on request, to me it sounds a little bit shady, as if you're trying to hide something. Again, I'm not saying that is true. If you made a good impression at a club that you did some work experience or interned at, and you've got somebody there that will speak highly of you, then why would you not want to include their name on your CV? They might be able to help you get a job. They might know somebody that can then help you get a job. So it's really important to put a reference on there if you've got one. References to me hold massive weight. So if I see somebody's name on a CV that I recognize, it's easy for me to then call them up. And if they were to give me a glowing reference, then, that's pretty much all I need basically. So definitely references, very, very important. Number 9 is to be professional. Pretty obvious, but you will be surprised. This covers a few things actually. So firstly, a professional email address. Use an email address that includes your name. Do not use an old email address that you set up when you were a teenager that has a stupid name. If you haven't got a sensible email, set one up. It will literally take you 2 minutes. Next, although I've said design something nice, don't go overboard with this. So don't use too many colours. You don't want really bright colours on there. The colours should be easy to read. Remember, the goal is to create something that looks good and is professional. The next thing on this point is another easy one, but it's another one that gets missed so many times, and that's the name that you give your CV. And by that, I mean the file name. So it should be something very, very simple, just like your name CV. So in my case, Chris Gill CV. You don't want to have things like CV draft 2 or CV final. Just when you're done with the CV, you've done the spell check, you're happy with it, rename the file, your name CV. Very simple, very straightforward. So that will help the recruiter obviously know whose it is without having to open the file. So make sure you do include your name. It's very, very important. Lastly on this point is to give your CV a title. So if you are a performance analyst, you can have your name at the top of the CV followed by performance analyst. So obviously you can use whatever you are. So data scientist, football coach, etc. Okay, finally, number 10, again, something that to me is very obvious, maybe it is to you, but you will be surprised. So number 10 is to not lie on your CV. So this covers a few things. The first one being obviously do not lie about a position in general. So don't tell me that you worked at a particular club. If you didn't, you will get found out, you will look pretty stupid, and it's not going to turn out very good for you. So that's the first point. The next point is to don't lie about the actual responsibilities that you had in a particular job. Again, just tell me what you did at the job. Don't lie, don't make it up, and don't make it sound like you did a lot more than you actually did. You will get found out again. This is why the references are very important. So if I was to call someone up at the club and they told me exactly how it went down and what you actually did, then again, you're not going to look very good, are you? You're going to look quite silly. Finally, as it's linked, I want to mention another annoyance of mine, and that is fluffing up job titles. It's always a funny one, and I don't really know why people do it. I think some people just want to be seen as important, so they'll make themselves up a job title that is, well, let's just say it's quite extravagant. For example, if you are volunteering at a non-league club doing some opposition analysis, just tell me that. That's great, that's fine. A lot of people start off, at the beginning of their careers volunteering at student teams, non-league clubs, etc. Nothing wrong with it. It's great to kind of get your first step on the ladder. So again, fine to include exactly that. So what I wouldn't want you to do is to create some extravagant job title for that particular position to make it sound, more important than it actually was. So for example, don't tell me you were, head of domestic scouting and pre-match planning for a pub team, for example. You'll be surprised. It happens a lot. I see it on CVs and I see it on LinkedIn's. Just be honest. You don't have to make things up, basically. Anyway, that's all for this video. So I hope you found some value from it, and I hope you can potentially, take some of the findings from here, implement them into your own CV in order to create a better one, and potentially then be successful in finding the job that you want. I do have other videos coming up on finding jobs, in terms of what else you can do apart from your CV. I've also got videos on the pros and cons, what you can expect if you work in sports analysis. And then I've also got some cool interviews planned with industry professionals, basically, where we'll get them on, have a chat with them, see kind of what they do in their roles, how they got into their roles as well. So hopefully they will be useful too. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel so you can see those videos. Thanks again for watching, and have a great day.